evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Paul Brown Show. We're taping live at 2 Expose You Studio. I have Mr. Darrell Goodman, he's the founder, Mr. Ray Harvey, Chief Engineer. And today I have as a special guest, I have Chief Reggie Burgess, the Chief of North Charleston. How you doing there, Chief Burgess?
I'm doing well, Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Growing up in North Charleston to become the 9th Police Chief of North Charleston, what does that mean to you?
First of all, it's a blessing that I had an opportunity to get into law enforcement after I came out of college. And once I got in it, I started from the ground level. I started to learn a whole lot more about myself as well about my community. And it's been a blessing more than anything to be able to work in the city that you grew up in. The city that I actually went to Head Start in, and kindergarten, and elementary, and high school, and my church, and my family. So it's a blessing for me. I thank the Lord every day.
Now, I mean, before we have anything, let's talk about how important is religion and God in your life? How important has that been in your life?
Well, Mr. Brown, every day I pray to the Lord, and I pray that He provides me with all the tools that I need to be a better person and to lead and guide the city that I work with. And every day, during the day, I'm either on my knees or I'm either talking to the Lord in some way, some form of fashion. So God is in my life. He's first on everything, and He's always been that, because the Lord has brought me a mighty long way. I've had my mistakes. I've tripped and fell a couple of times, but He got me back up, and I brushed myself off, and He made me a better man to get through those trials and tribulations. So the Lord is first in my life.
And how does that feel to know that God has blessed you to be in law enforcement for over 30 years, 31, I guess it's 31 years. How does it feel to keep you and have covered you through all these years?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was growing up, coming from Union Heights, and we lived on the Dan Jenkins projects, and we lived on Georgia Degree and Liberty Hill. Living in those neighborhoods, you actually experience a lot of good things and bad things. But one thing that was always consistent with my living in North Charleston growing up, my mother, when we had hard times, or we had real hard times, my mother would always say, the Lord will provide. I always remember that as a little kid in Head Start all the way to college. My mother always said, Lord will provide. I had to find God myself. Yes. I had to find my own personal relationship with Him. But I knew from experiences what He had actually did for my mother and my brothers and my father and my family. So I knew that if all I had to have done was to stay focused on the Lord, and He would see me through. And He's always been there for me.
Now, I know being in law enforcement for so long, you had to have that support of your family. How important was it to have that support of your family in that law enforcement field?
Keeping it real,
yes, sir.
I'm African American. I'm born black, I'm going to die black.
Yes, sir.
So I love my heritage. But I realized a long time ago, way before I was in law enforcement, that the African American community and law enforcement has always had issues with each other. So I knew going into law enforcement that I have to not only worry about, the black side of things, but the blue side of it. In other words, sometimes I'm too black for the blue, and sometimes I'm too blue for the black. But I never let that hold me down, because my main objective is to bring peace and tranquility to communities. And the only way I knew about doing it was to be a part of it. My father told me, son, you can change a lot of things if you're on the inside. If you're on the inside, you can change a lot of things. And you can help better the outside of things. So with me, I just knew that getting into law enforcement and let law enforcement see black people as they really are, from the internal part of law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Then that way, when they go out to serve African Americans, they have already been in contact with African Americans on the inside, and they know how to better navigate those conversations.
Back in 1989, when you first decided to get into law enforcement, when you told your family and your friends that you were getting into that field, what kind of advice or what did they kind of tell you? I know it's kind of like, I know.
See, I'm not your traditional chief.
Yes, sir.
Or sheriff. I came off the football field. My whole dream was to get to the NFL. I had three things in my mind. I remember my father said, "Who plays on Fridays?" I said, "High school." He said, "Who plays on Saturdays?" College. "Who plays on Sundays?" NFL. I had already had two of those already done. High school and college. I played, started every year in college. I was All-American. Went to Toronto Argonauts football team as a free agent. That didn't work out, so I couldn't get to the Sundays, so I had to shift gears. But I remember when I came home after that dream was gone, my parents always told me to make adjustments, keep moving. So when I decided to actually look into law enforcement, at first I went to go to SLED in Columbia. My mother said to me, "Son, why are you going to Columbia to work in SLED when you hadn't even cleaned your own yard yet?" She told me that. And I'm looking at my mother like, clean my own yard? So what she was basically telling me, you can do a whole lot better in your own neighborhood. Make this North Charleston better. Then you can work around the state side of things. So yeah, my parents supported me. Even though my parents were born in the 40s, in the segregated South.
Yes, sir.
They still believe in people. They still believe in treating people fair. They didn't have any issues with colors. They wanted me to do something good for all people.
Now I know to our young viewers, why it's so important to have goals, because I know, just like you said, you were very talented professionally as far as football, and you knew you was going to be a professional football player, but that didn't work out. So why is it so important to have goals in your life?
Well, when I was my senior year in college, I was no one receiving the MEAC. I was All-American. I actually went to the Freedom Bowl All-Star game. So my whole career was going exactly the way my dream, was all tuned in. I signed with Donnie Shell, former Pittsburgh Steelers great. He was my agent. So I'm rolling. So he gives me a free agency tryout with the Toronto Argonauts. But then when I got there, things changed. It wasn't for me. So in other words, Donnie told me then, he said, "Reggie, dreams are good, but goals are achievable. You need to have goals. And nothing wrong with dreaming, but you need to have goals because goals are realistic." So he said, "Your goal was to get to college, but along the way, you got that education. Take that education and make it work for you now." So I say to young people, anytime when you're out there, when you're in those classrooms and you have dreams, there's nothing wrong with dreaming, but be realistic about your dream. Is a small percentage of people are going to make the NFL, Major League Baseball, and basketball. But one thing, I could run fast, I could jump high, I could maneuver everything. I did everything you expected a high caliber athlete to do. But I'm 55 years old now. And Donnie Shell and my mother told me, there'll come a time that you can't run a 4.40. There's going to come a time you can't vertical leap 36 inches. But you will always be able to think. Use your mind, feed yourself mentally so that when you get on these jobs, you will be better prepared. Because your legs and your back will not be as it was when you were younger, but your brain will always be new if you continue to feed it. So I'm saying to you, I've been where they're at, but I was realistic. Football didn't happen, but my life kept going because I understood the education part of it.
Now I know as the police chief of North Charleston, you're big on community relationship. Why is that so important to you?
Well, I tell you, when I look at City Hall, for 31 years, when I see the area that people come in to complain on police, officers, if they did something wrong or say something wrong. In 31 years, what has been constant for me, well, at least 28 of them, was the area that people came up to file complaints was on the level that I'm at, the second floor. And the majority of people that came to complain on police conduct was African Americans, people that look like me. So I said to myself, I have to change that. I have to change that, and I have to work on it quick. We went up to, in 2007, myself and the former Chief Burgess went up to Washington, D.C. to meet with the Department of Justice. At that time, we were getting the feedback on the audit that was performed after the Walter Scott shooting.
Yes, sir.
When we got up there, they told us that administration was not going to give out a report. We weren't going to have a report, but they were going to give us technical assistance through the Collaborative Reform Initiative. So they met with us in 18, beginning of 18, once I became the chief. When we were up there in 17, Chief Burgess asked them to help us to find ways to bring down crime and then build our relationship with the community. So they were working on those prerequisites. When I became the chief of police, knowing what I had known in the past, coming from all black neighborhoods, knowing what I see with the interaction with law enforcement in the black community, I flipped that. I asked the Department of Justice to bring in programs and practices and all types of things to help us to have a better relationship with our community, then have us to work on crime. Let it be synonymous, but let our partnership, our relationship, our fellowship be the main goal. Because I believe this, Mr. Brown, that if we as an agency have a better relationship with the community we serve, once we develop that relationship, the community that we serve will help us to bring crime down. We can't do it by ourselves.
Yes, sir.
And that's law enforcement's problem. We can't do it by ourselves. We need the people to be a part of the crime prevention strategies. And that's why in my administration, it was strictly, at first, always partnership, having a relationship with the community. And once you do that, you will see people start to come and tell you things. You will hear people start to say, stand up. As you notice, when I started walking at 18, I don't have to walk by myself now.
Yes,
the communities go out and walk. They have candlelight vigils. They go to the wakes. We have started working together to say we're going to have to do it together to bring crime and make it better for our city.
Yes.
So that's the thing. That's why I turned it. I want to have a better relationship with the community.
Chief, I have some footage right here of yourself, and back in.
Thank you. I didn't get up this morning thinking this was going to happen for me. I got up this morning thinking about how we're going to stop crime, how we're going to keep people safe.
Man, I just celebrated my 30th anniversary in law enforcement. Never thought, really, when I started out, that I was thinking about 30. I just wanted to do it year by year. I came because I started to come to all the summer programs, because I'm 100% behind all the summer programs, because I went to some summer programs when I was younger, and I loved them. So I want to be there to see how the kids, ended and what they were going to be doing. And I got here waiting on a big program to happen, and lo and behold, the program was about me. When you see young people look at you with passion in their faces, look at you and really saying to you that you're the reason why I'm going to succeed, because you're going to make sure that I get there. You're going to make sure I'm safe. You're going to look out for me. You're going to do the best you can to help me along the way. And they were saying that, and I saw that in their faces, and they were looking directly at me when they came to me and hugged me and told me that they loved me and I was their hero. I want to be like you. I couldn't help it. I said to myself, Lord, maybe this is what you ordained me to do, was to do what I'm doing for 30 years and help my community in this way. And I've always said it's good to give back, but it's best to go back and do. And that's what I guess what I'm doing. I came back home in my community, which I love. And when I saw those children, man, the way they, treated me, the way they looked at me, and the way they showed me love, I lost it. I got emotional. 99% of the people in our communities are good, law-abiding citizens. They care about law enforcement, they care about their homes, their communities, and their neighbors. What you saw in there today, that's the 99%. because those kids in there and the families in there, they care about us. They support us. They're with us. They're standing with us. So when I see that, it reconfirms, you know, what we're trying to do, and that's police relationship building.
Thank you, Chief Reggie Burgess, for serving the City of North Charleston for 30 years. You are truly a role model for our children. Here at Janine Batten Summer Camp 2019, we want to thank you and congratulate you on the job well done.
Back on the Paul Brown Show, Chief Burgess. Chief Burgess, tell the audience a little bit about that feeling of being there with that young audience.
Man, Mr. Brown, it was amazing, and it was outstanding. I never could imagine that would happen for me, or I would never imagine it would be the way it was. I love going to camps. I went to camps.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes when I went to camps, the situation had it where my mother was working 2 and 3 jobs. That's when we got our daily meal that day at the camps. And I know you all know about the free lunch, man. You had that cold, you know, fruit in the fruit cup and things of that nature. But not only the meal, but the socialization of the people that were there. So when I got there at Janine Batten, I'm in the audience, and I want to uplift the kids, you know, to keep them focused. And I want to be around them in uniform, because to me that's important. When you see officers in uniform, sometimes folks like, oh, they want to shy away. No, you know, I wanted that. So that was great for me. That was a blessing over blessing. That's when you realize the hard work that you put in pays off. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know it had to touch you knowing that these young kids looking up to you, and they're seeing you as a role model, and some of them, especially coming from families that probably, you know, that we probably can't imagine, and they see you as one of them.
Yes. Yes, sir. And you're right. Being there in that moment with those kids and the parents was most important to me. And my emotions just got away with me, because I try to always stay, you know, with them, to keep an eye on them and talk with them and everything. But I became who I am, an individual. And that's why I cried. And I got emotional looking at it just now, because that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that that young person say, no, we're not the worst people. We're not the ones that's always getting in trouble. We are a people. God made us.
Yes, sir.
We're God's children. And if we're his children, we've got to be righteous. And that's why I love being around that. Yes, sir.
After seeing all that's been going on in our TV as far as African American in our society and law enforcement and some of the negative things, what advice do you give your children when they go out there and they're faced with law enforcement? You know, yes. What kind of advice do you give your children?
Yes, sir. My son, Reggie II, my daughter, Kristen, they were born into this profession.
Yes, sir.
And they've always been around law enforcement. They don't know a lot of law enforcement people, but they know some, more than the average black family probably does. But I always keep it real with them now. I said, son, I'm not going to be in that passenger seat with you. So when you get stopped by any officer, I don't care what color, you always practice good habits. You keep your eye focused on what's going on. You listen, and you keep your hands in the area where that officer can see it. Not only for your protection, but for the protection of the officers as well. Because most officers, when they see that your hands are in an area where it's not a threat, they don't consider anything threatening.
Yes, sir.
And my daughter's the same way. I tell her as a female, listen to what the officer's saying to you. You know, conversate with them. You know, give them as much information as you can that's legally, you know, asked of.
Yes.
And once you get yourself situated, you want to go that way, and the officer go that way. And I tell them, always think this. Put yourself in that car and say, do I want to treat this officer any kind of way, even if the officer mistreats you? Think about, that could be my dad on the other side. Would I want somebody to mistreat my father this way? So I tell them, you always, like Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high, we go high. So you're always thinking about doing things the right way, no matter what the circumstances. When I was growing up, the biggest things me and my brother used to always fight, people called my mother out of her name. You know the mother jokes growing up. My mother told us, listen, y'all got to get away from that. Y'all have to elevate yourselves. Think all the time, and we learn, and that's why I tell my kids to always think about how you interact with officers. Think about if that's your father right there. Treat him as kind as you can, because your whole goal is to go away from the traffic stop and keep going into your life. It's hard now for African Americans. It's hard. I know it is.
And what do you tell just African Americans? You know what I'm saying? That it's not that hard to just, be calm and just listen to what the officer's telling you, and not to get, take it out of control.
Yeah. Don't ever look at it personal. Even though that stop is personal because it's your vehicle, or when you somebody gets out with you in the community, it is personal. Always realize this. Nowadays in law enforcement, as when I came in, we didn't have that. You have an officer with a body-worn camera. You have an officer that has an in-car camera. You have people on porches with cell phones. We have cameras all over the community. So the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So in other words, all you have to do is do your part by listening to the officer, being as honest as you can with the officer. If the officer, if he or she gets a little angry, you don't get angry. You keep it where you can control yourself. Because number one thing I tell citizens when I interact with them, do not give up your civil rights. Don't give up your rights. Do not let me take them from you. When you are in control of yourself, you have your rights. But once you leave and you get outside of your control, then you have given those rights up. And those rights have been bought and paid for by blood, sweat, and tears from our foreparents and foreparents of other cultures that have walked, that have protested, that have died for us to have these rights. So I always tell them, do not give it up. Always stay in control. Doesn't matter what. And guess what? If you felt mistreated, you have avenues to go down.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to call. Come over to City Hall. Let me see you. Let IA see you. So you have a lot of things now that a lot of people didn't have back in the day. You got cameras all over the place. So the cameras can tell a story as well as people can write statements for you. And guess what? When you go to court, you have the ability to request that camera footage as well, so that you can use that for your defense.
Now, I know we see in our community when law enforcement does violence against us, we see camera footage, we see protests, we see all that. But when we have black on black crime in our community, we don't want to get involved. We call it, we don't want to be snitches and all that. Why should we start thinking more that we should start looking into our community at ourselves and stuff, and start,
Good question, Mr. Brown. I constantly speak with the civil rights leaders in my city all the time. And one thing I told them is I'm never going to, as a law enforcement leader, I'm never going to talk about black on black crime. Because when you have let's say Asian guy goes into a Jewish sanctuary and harms somebody, they don't say Asian against Jew. You don't ever see them say Muslim against Christian. Nothing. We're the only people that allow people to label us as black on black crime. I call it crime. I call it what it is. And what I'm saying to you, in essence, is this. We as a people, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, we cannot disagree without being violently disagreeable. That is our issue.
Yes, sir.
We can't just simply disagree with you without being violent. This morning, Mr. Brown, around 2 and 3 this morning, we had a family traveling on the roadways in the southern part of my city. Black males in another vehicle fired into this car. An 8-year-old female child was struck. That's not black on black. That's that individual doing something against a victim. Mr. Brown, one of the things I cannot stand, and I don't hate things because I'm a God-fearing man, but I'm close to it. I hate victimization. I hate it. And the victimization now is covered by, as you stated, stop snitching and whatever. That snitching thing is that's a clown show. That's a facade. That's not even real. You know why? Because my father said, if I did something wrong and you witnessed that and you go to law enforcement or my parents, whatever, and you told the truth, you're not snitching. You're telling the truth.
Yes, sir.
You know, my nephew got killed in 2010 in the Union Heights area. I've yet solved that case. We know who pulled the trigger, but the folks don't want to say anything because they say it's snitching. That's all right. The Lord will provide. So I don't believe in that snitching thing. I don't believe in that. I believe in you telling the truth. Now, I don't believe in you coming into City Hall and lying on somebody. That's wrong. But if you come into City Hall and you tell the truth, you're doing the right thing. That's simply doing the right thing. And that's the problem, is that a lot of folks who are doing crimes, they are getting and they're controlling the minds of folks who are being victimized or witnesses to these things, and they're making it seem like, oh, well, this is out of the street. Well, you and I know, real life is real life. The street is only a facade. We've all experienced that street thing, and when we became older men as we are, we realize it's about what we're doing as men, you know, than what the streets are saying. Because the streets are not going to, when you go to jail for 30 and 40 years, the streets are not going to be loyal to you. When you go in front of a judge and facing time, the streets not going to be loyal to you. When you sit back looking at your canteen in prison, the streets not going to be loyal to you. It's those families.
Yes, sir.
Your mother, your father, your brother, and sister. That's the people who are going to be holding you down to make sure you keep yourself straight. You know, keeping your mind focused. So I don't believe in that. That's a facade. That's a make-believe for me. You know, do the right thing. You know, help a family to heal by telling them who you knew that took their loved one's life. That's the right thing to do.
I know, being a police chief, how is diversity, why is that so important in law enforcement, especially in these day and ages?
Well, it's amazing because the diversity, City of North Charleston probably is, I don't have the numbers, you know, right, but it's probably the most heaviest populated city for African Americans in the state. But either that, City of North Charleston, or Columbia. The population in the City of North Charleston is more populated African Americans. So we serve a big African American group. Now, it's like you want to mimic the community that you serve.
Yes, sir.
But then on the other hand, you think about this, and I know I might not get an amen on it, but if you take 10 black males from the age of 35 to 65, and you put a lie detector test on them, and you ask them, how often did your father, grandfather, mother, grandmother, anybody in your family say, your occupation should be law enforcement? It's an honorable profession. How many black males going to say, yeah, that was told to them? Maybe one. Maybe one. Our community, our culture, we don't get into the law enforcement thing because it's generational. But if you take the same amount of white males from the age of 35 to 65, place a lie detector on them and ask them the same question, you'll get about 5, 6, or 7 of them. Say, oh yeah, my grandfather or my uncle, because they are involved in law enforcement. So in other words, we have to first get rid of that generational mistrust. We got to get rid of it, and that comes with relationship building.
Yes, sir.
That comes with spending quality time in the community, talking to folks, showing them exactly what law enforcement, the good that law enforcement is doing. Then also, it's also getting people in the community to see how well they can make communities better if they're involved. And on the flip side of it, Mr. Brown, the Caucasian officers that I work with, they've always loved to have African Americans, especially in the neighborhoods that's more predominantly African Americans, because with the Caucasian officers, they understand that they have somebody who's African American. There are things that they may not understand, they can always refer to them. Or they can help build trust with that community.
Yes.
If you're an African American officer and you're a white officer and y'all walk into a convenience store, let's say you go to Swint Barbershop on Union Heights. I walk in Swint with a white officer, Mr. Charles Swint and Bobby Swint, they don't know this white officer. But guess what? If I introduce him and he's around me, that officer's going to say, hey, Mr. Swint, so-and-so. So when the officer is on his own, he'll go in Swint or go in Bertha's or go in places, oh, yeah, I met him with Reggie, So now you've developed that. So the white officers want the same thing. So recruiting African Americans in the city of North Charleston is very vital. And we've actually done a lot of that. But you got to go where they're at. And then you got the churches. You got to go into the community civic club meetings. You got to go to the parents. You guys are the greatest recruiters of African American men and women because y'all know who they are and y'all know what they want to do. Yes.
I know you have a lot of Caucasian officers working under you. Why is it so important that they get involved in the black community that they patrol?
Well, because our oath is pretty long, but 99% of our oath talks about the service of people. It doesn't talk about the service of Hispanics, Asians, whites, blacks. It talks about the service of all people. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to raise your hand and swear that you're going to serve and protect the citizens, then that's everybody. So they need, as well as African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians, they need to be truly about the Lord's business. God didn't talk about colors. He never ever did. He talked about service. So if you're going to serve the black community, it should never be in your mind as a black officer or white officer that my service is going to be, 90%. No, your service should be 100%.
Yes, sir.
So that's the thing. You have to be true to what you raise your hand and what was said on paper. You have to be true to that. And that's what I expect my officers to be. If you can't be true to your oath, then you can't work at North Charleston. North Charleston is about the people's business. That's what it's about, the people's business. And that is everybody from Union Heights to Goose Creek Line to Latson Road, the people's business. And it doesn't matter what community they're in, you're about taking care of the people. That's what that oath is about. And if you're going to swear to it, then you need to carry it out. And that's what I believe that I do. I keep the officers focused on the task at hand, and that's the service of the people.
You withdrew your nomination as the next director of South Carolina Department of Public Safety position. You were nominated by the governor. Explain why you withdrew your, that position, because I know that's the kind of the top of the position that
it is.
And you withdrew.
Yes, sir. Well, when the Governor McMaster and I met several times the year before that and during that year, and when we would meet, the governor would ask me about the walking in the communities. Mm-hmm. He would ask me about the initiatives that we're doing with our CAP program, and we have all the programs working with the kids year round. He would ask me about the Black History Month program that we did. He said, man, he says, so how, what are you getting from that? And I told him that we get so much good feedback and people want to sponsor it. So he said, I'm keeping up with you. He was keeping up with everything I was doing.
Yes, sir.
The times that I met him, didn't think anything about it until he actually met with me one time and told me that he wanted to nominate me for that position. And I told the governor that I had no problem with going through the process. When I got home, I spoke to my wife and my family, my kids, my son, and my mother, and I talked to them about it. And I spoke to the mayor about it. None of them really wanted me to go, but they felt that it was a good opportunity if it was to be. But I told my church, and I told my family, if it's God's will, that's what I'll do. If it's not God's will, then I won't do it. As I was going through the process, I was enjoying it. I had my little bumps, you know, on the road, but I came over that. There's 46 senators in the state. You know, my votes was no problem. But I realized during the process, the political part of it. Okay. And I'm a chief of police. I have administrative capabilities to go to command schools, administrative schools. I understand it. But at that point in time, then I've never experienced the political side of things. Okay. So when I started realizing that, I said, wow, this is intense. But my family and I sat down together, and we actually evaluated, is it best for me to go to Columbia, which I love, highway patrolman, transport, everybody over there. But, you know, North Charleston is my home. I love my city. I love North Charleston. And that love that I have always had in me came through, and I just believe it was God's will. He wanted to let me go through that process, yes, but evaluate what was most important for me at that time. And the time North Charleston is.
Chief, at one time you were a resource officer, I guess in high school, and tell the audience how it felt like when you have students that come back and they see you and they say thank you for possibly keeping me out of trouble or giving me lunch money when I probably didn't have it that day, or being that ear to talk to when I probably was having problems, or, you know, giving me advice and stuff like that when I needed it.
Yes, sir. Of all the jobs I've had at City of North Charleston, from the 31 years, I've worked in every division, in every unit, in every area in the City of North Charleston. From crime prevention all the way up to, you know, the budget, you know, coordinator. Everything, every spot.
Yes, sir.
But if you ask me, Mr. Brown, what position or what area of the City of North Charleston that I worked in that I felt that I really made a difference, I always say school resource officer. I went to North Charleston High, which I attended Barnes Wilson High, yes, and North Charleston combined with us in '84.
Yes, sir.
So my alumni is North Charleston now because my school is intertwined with North Charleston. So it was exciting to me to actually go to North Charleston and be a school resource officer. But my main goal there was to help the young people there at the school to see officers in the light that they should see them in. Because if I felt that the time from 7 to 3, if I interact with them in a positive way, and even when I had to deal with them, treat them as individuals, that when they leave and go in their communities, they saw police officers, now they can talk to officers and say, I know an officer. And I know that what y'all do. I know how hard it is to have a good relative relationship with the officer outside of the schools. That was my main goal, was to prove to them that we are keepers of them, not their enemy. And what happened is that North Charleston High had stopped allowing the kids, because of discipline problems, to have homecoming dances. They had stopped allowing them to go on, you know how we go on school, the seniors win the cut days?
Yes, sir.
That cut day. They stopped allowing them going on senior cut days because of attitude and behavior. I'm not saying that I did it, but my interaction with the kids, when they started telling me what they wanted, I said, I'll work on those things if you work on doing better in school with your behavior. That happened. So I went to bat for them. We had our school dances. I was on campus. I helped them to organize it, stayed there. We had our dance, no problems. Then we started going to senior cut days. Then we started going on senior trips. And North Charleston's been going on senior trips since 1994, since I've been over there every year, going to Florida. Never have any issues. Like you've heard other schools go to places and have, North Charleston High never had those. Because I listened to the kids and I asked them to be better with the teachers. See, it's like this, Mr. Brown. We don't know what that child has experienced over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When that child comes to school in this day and time, when we were growing up, you knew how to act because you knew what was going to happen in school and when you got home. But things are different. So you don't know what that child has experienced from the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the home or in the community. When that child comes to school, the last thing you want to do as a teacher, administrator, or SRO is to just cast them aside. If they're acting out, there's a reason. Mr. Brown, I don't believe no child was born to sell drugs. I don't believe no child was born to rape. I don't believe no child was born to rob. I don't believe no child was born to do none of those things. They learn that. They learn those things. So what I was trying to do is help them to unlearn those things while they were in the schools. I was telling them, I know how it is to be in the hood. I'm from the hood. I'm in the hood now. That's me. But I'm not going to do some of the things, the negative things that the hood will do. Now, you may be my boy, my friend, and we cool and everything, but you gonna go that way, I'm going this way because I got to be accountable for myself. So that's what I was doing. Not only having these things, I was having conflict resolutions. You know, I was having, when they got wrote up by a teacher, the teacher would refer them to me. And then we would work on diversion. Okay. My main goal was to keep them in school, Mr. Brown. Yes. Keep them there. If I had to put them in ISS, detention, clean up, whatever, keep them in school. And that's how we started changing things. And like you said, the kids now who are grown, they come back. When I got sworn in, they were there. All during the week, they come in. They send me cards. I saw one yesterday in Walmart telling me about, hey, Burgess, remember that time? And I was like, boy, don't remind me of them days. You know, but the thing about it is they saw me that way in '94, and they see me the same way right now. They walk up to me in front of anybody and show me love, and I do the same with them because it's all about love. Yes, sir. So yeah, that was the #1 job that I knew that I made a difference in as a school resource officer. Of all the jobs I did in the police department, I knew I made a difference there because you can see it when the people come back to you. You can see it.
What do you tell our youth when they have problems getting a job because of prior records and they feel like the only thing that they can do is do something illegal instead of seeking options, because there are always options up there that they can do?
Yes. Well, my father, like I say, was born in the 40s. He worked at the paper mill for 28 years. He told me, listen, before you go out here and do anything negative, I didn't raise you that way. I want you, if you have to dig a ditch and get a piece of paper with your name on it, you do the right thing at all times when it comes to yourself, because you can live with that. So I tell the young kids, I know it's rough, I know it's hard, you have a record, but it's not over. All you have to do is keep grinding hard, be positive, and go seek the people who you know can help you.
Yes, sir.
That's what you do. Seek advice. Get the understanding. When you get with those folks, they'll help you. They'll work with you. You may not get that great job, but you'll get something and you can help start building yourself. But don't give up. Don't give up, because I did. You did. Mm-hmm. And we come from the same areas.
Yes,
we just
sir.
didn't give up. We kept going.
Yes, sir. Now we got another video of you in the community, and what it is we're gonna
you guys have an award-winning team and an award-winning chief here at the North Charleston Police Department, and I want to present to you today Real Men Wear Pink official trophy from the American Cancer Society for all the wonderful work you all did last October. And we're just thrilled to have your partnership in this fight, because these cancer patients simply could not get the support and the research advances that they need without community partners like each one of you. And Chief Burgess, we can't say thank you enough for your leadership with this, and we're so excited to have y'all back again. And thank you. From the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all these cancer patients, thank you.
Thank you.
That's another one of the many other things that North Charleston Police Department, led by yourself, does in your community. How important does that mean to you?
It's called this, relationship policing. That's what it's called, relationship policing. Everybody has issues. Put yourself in their position. And what can you do about making that situation a whole lot better? I've experienced cancer in my family, and it's going on in my family right now. So all I want to do is my part. But if I'm going to have the officers involved, I've got to lead from the front. I've got to lead from the front. If I'm out there, Mr. Brown, then they're going to be out there as well. All they need is for somebody to show them that, hey, you know, let's get out there and get it done. That's why you see these officers involved.
We're running short on time, Chief Burgess. If people want to know more about the things that you're doing in the community, what should they go about getting to? Some of the things you got going on.
Everything that we do in the community is all on our website. It's all on our website. So all you have to do is go to City of North Charleston Police Department.org and open our website up, and you can take a look at everything. And another thing that I want you all to understand too, they talk about police reform. You can look at our policies and procedures on that website. You would see any policy that talks about strangleholds or chokeholds, nothing. You will see duty to intervene in our policy, and you will actually see the force matrix where it actually explains to you about how we actually go from one level to the next. We have nothing to hide. So what I'm saying to you, doing everything in the community is a must and is important, but also we're practicing what we preach. Being better servants is important as well. So we want you all to know that we're a well-rounded agency, and yeah, we have great thinkers, great commanders that have command level experience, and we ourselves lead from the front. And the officers, they come right along with us because they want to be a part of it. It's all about relationship policing. That's what it's about.
Chief Burgess, thank you for coming on the show, and we look forward to having you come back on and talking some more about North Charleston Police Department, the awesome police department that you have, the people that you are in charge of, that you make protect our community.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I want to thank you, sir, because like I said, you didn't have to ask me to come on, and I thank you for allowing me to be on it. And anything you guys need, you don't have to dial 911. Just go ahead and come on over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged. Thank you.